Yes guys, welcome to a brand new video. My name is Conan and today I'm going to teach you how you can still stay shredded while going out for sushi every single weekend. This is what I do personally. I love my sushi, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, on my social media pages, you know that this is almost like a tradition for me where me and my friends are like going out for sushi, and we still manage to stay in amazing shape. And here's exactly the protocol that I use personally along with all my other clients to still stay on track with our health and fitness goals while still being able to eat out, whether it's sushi. Even if you hate sushi, you could apply these exact same strategies to eating out at your favorite restaurant, whether it's burgers, pizza, fries, chicken wings, all that good stuff. Because when it comes to fitness, I say this all the time, but we want fitness to enhance our lives and not take over our lives, right? And so if I were to tell you right now that, hey, you can only have a six-pack if you can never eat sushi again, would you take me up on that? I would say 9 out of 10 people, including myself actually, I would say, you know what, like, I like food too much. I'm a big foodie, by the way. I'd rather stick to my sushi than seeing six-pack abs. But fortunately for all of us fitness geeks as well, that doesn't have to be the case, especially if you follow these strategies that are super simple to use. And yeah, without any further ado, let's just kind of dive straight into them. So pre-sushi or pre-eating out, whatever, the protocol that I personally like using is intermittent fasting. I talk about this all the time on my channel. There's nothing secret, there's nothing magical about it. All it simply does is it decreases your eating window. So instead of eating on a 12-hour feeding window, let's say from 8 a.m. you break your fast, you have your breakfast, and your last meal is at 8 p.m. That is a 12-hour feeding window. All you're simply doing when you're intermittent fasting is you're simply delaying your breakfast from, let's say, 8 a.m. up to, let's say, 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., right? And so as you can tell, all we're really doing here is we're decreasing the feeding window, which allows us to eat larger meals in a shorter time frame. So if you're a big eater like myself, and especially if you have like a big dinner coming up, this is a great tool that you can use in the toolbox to save up on calories leading up to the event, without having to restrict yourself too much when you're at the event, right? A big mistake I see a lot of people make is that they fail to plan. So last minute, one of their friends will tell them like, hey, let's say it's at 5 p.m., dinner's at 6, you've already eaten most of your calories. When your friend calls you like, hey, do you want to go out for sushi tonight? You're like, oh, I'd love to, but I've already eaten most of my calories, right? And again, one day isn't going to kill you, but had you had maybe known at least a day in advance, you could very easily still prepare for that by intermittent fasting, right? And so again, I like breaking my fast at around noon or 1 p.m. And now when I do break my fast, it's really important not to overdo it on the calories, right, for your first meal. So hopefully your first meal will still be made at home by you, and hopefully you can make this nice and healthy for yourself. So what I like to do personally is I like to keep the protein super high along with the fruits and veggies as well. This will give me lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, and lots of fiber as well with the high protein too, which most of the time whenever you eat out, you don't really eat much fruits, you don't really eat much vegetables, and you don't really get a lot of protein in either. So by covering all those bases before you go out to eat, for example, allows you to still kind of hit your macros for the day, right? And it allows you to not have to worry about like, oh, okay, I want to eat out, but I want to make sure that it actually has enough fruits and vegetables in it or enough protein in it. Like, you don't have to worry about that if you kind of cover the bases prior to actually eating out, right? Which is so important. On top of that as well, guys, protein and veggies are super satiating, specifically protein, which is the most satiating macronutrient out of all 3 macronutrients, including the carbohydrates and fats, as it takes a bit longer for your body to like fully break down and digest. So what you'll notice is by loading up on protein with the veggies as well, which are also really high in fiber, which also fills you up, you'll feel so nice and full, and your hunger should hopefully kind of come down. So prior to going for your dinner at the restaurant, you won't be like completely starving, which is also really important, because if you go to a restaurant feeling just like really hungry, starving, ready to eat a horse, you can definitely put a lot of damage. Like, you can definitely really easily overdo it, especially at a restaurant, because most of those foods, unfortunately, are super calorically dense because they got some top class chefs in the back of the kitchen, and guess what their main goal is? Their main goal is to make the food as tasty and delicious as possible. And unfortunately, what that means is that they may end up loading up on oils, butters, whatever, salts, all this stuff, just to make it, yes, a lot more taste, but it also makes it a lot more calorically dense, right? So make sure that you load up on protein and veggies and fruits prior to actually eating out, right? On top of that, I also like having caffeine while I still fast, right? It's an appetite suppressant, also gives you more energy, which is amazing to kind of combat the hunger signals from actually caving in all the time, right? Now, let's say you made your way to the restaurant, it's 5 p.m., it is go time. Should you stuff yourself with food, especially if it's an all-you-can-eat place, it is really important for you to kind of monitor that and do not do that. Typically, mostly 9 times out of 10, right, sushi places are like all-you-can-eat buffets. At least the ones that I go to, or at least the ones that I prefer going to, are all-you-can-eat because, in my opinion, if you get sushi, like, it has to be like an experience where you can kind of like pick and choose whatever you want, as opposed to like having to order off the menu on overpriced sushi rolls. Like, no, it has to be all you can eat, in my opinion. But anyway, do not get too excited. I know you're probably surrounded by a bunch of food where you can just pick whatever you want. Still be mindful, right? So your first plate, actually before you even get your first plate, drink 2 glasses of water. This will expand your stomach and trick your brain into thinking that you're semi-full, when in reality you haven't actually eaten any calories, you just drank in a bunch of water, right? So make sure you drink lots of water before you have your actual meal. And on your first plate, don't get too excited, like I said, and start with simply more protein and more veggies. So opt for foods like sashimi, which is basically just the raw fish without the rice. Think of like your tuna, your salmon, your whatever other fishes they have. Those are the go-tos that I like to grab. And then with the veggies, I like going for the edamame, which is also high in protein, which is amazing, or the seaweed salad as well. Those are my go-tos for almost like my appetizers, and I'll load up on those. And then cucumber rolls are also fine, but yeah, those are like the 2 main ones that I have. So the salmon sashimi, tuna sashimi, tuna especially low in fat, high in protein, salmon healthy fats, but also high in protein, and then yeah, edamame and seaweed vegetables, super good for you as well. And now for your second plate, like I said, make sure you drink lots of water throughout. For your second plate, that's when I like to kind of indulge in a bit more of the actual sushi rolls. I love this salmon roll, the tuna roll, most of the boring rolls as well. Just be careful with the specialty rolls. So typically rolls that have like the tempura, right? Or the, like, basically anything that is fried or breaded. Try to stay away from those, especially if they have like the spicy mayo on top as well, or the eel sauce. And I try to just keep my sauces selective at just the soy sauce, preferably the low sodium soy sauce. But yeah, try to keep the sauces to a minimum. I genuinely just like eating the taste of just a regular roll without the sauce. But if you do insist on having sauces, just stick to the low sodium soy sauce and try to stay away from like the spicy mayo or the eel sauce as well, right? And now during this time, I also want you guys to be mindful. So just because you are at an all-you-can-eat place doesn't mean that you have to physically eat all that you can, because keep in mind, like, this isn't an all-or-nothing type of thing. Like, I guarantee you're going to find yourself in another all-you-can-eat buffet probably in the next, if not weeks, months from now, right? So don't view this as like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, which I personally used to make that mistake all the time. Whenever I was in an all-you-can-eat buffet situation where I was just, like, surrounded by food, I was just like, oh my goodness, like, I've never been around this much food in a really long time. I need to take advantage of this. And so I noticed myself just simply stuffing food right one after the other, right? And I wasn't present, really. I wasn't really, like, social with the people I was around. I was just so focused on, like, the food that was in front of me. And just, like, it was almost like a food eating competition where, like, I wasn't even breathing. I was just, like, mowing down all the food. And that almost, like, defeats the purpose and defeats the experience, right? It's like, use the all you can eat as like an advantage that, okay, like, I filled up my plates. This is all that I need for right now. Let me just sit down, relax, right? Have a glass of water, just relax, socialize, talk to my people that are on the table with me. And I can grab a second plate after I'm done eating, right? Because what's so cool about all you can eat places is that they're constantly refilling it, right? So even in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, well, I want to eat everything because I want to make sure that they never run out of this specific thing. Do not worry. That's almost like your fight or flight modes that I'm taking in, because it's almost like back in the olden days when, like, okay, you had food in front of you. I need to stuff myself with as much food as I can because I do not know the next time I can eat this animal, for example, right? But we live in the 21st century where we have the opposite issue where we're surrounded by too much food, right? So do not let, like, your reptile part of your brain kind of like take over, and just, again, being mindful during this situation, which I made that mistake so many times before. To be honest, I still kind of deal with this as well, but it definitely helps if you're around friends and you're socializing and you kind of like take your mind away from food and more so on like being present with the people that are actually around you, right? So those are the main tips that I have for you. And now post meal, we already talked pre-meal, intermittent fasting, keep the protein nice and high, but post meal as well, it is really important to be physically active. So one of the rituals that we like to do after our sushi is we actually like to go just walk around the parking lot. This doesn't only help you digest the food a bit more, it also helps increase your activity, which therefore helps you burn more calories and can actually limit somewhat of the damage, right? But hopefully by you intermittent fasting and not being a complete idiot when you're at the all-you-can-eat sushi buffet, you really shouldn't have to put yourself in a situation where you've gone completely overboard, right? But now let's say you did go overboard, do not stress it. Again, it's what you do over a consistent period of time that's going to dictate your long-term results. So by you eating out once in a blue moon, let's say once a month at an all-you-can-eat sushi place, it's not going to kill you. Look at your 30-day calendar and look at how consistent you've been with your workouts, with tracking your food, being in your calorie deficit in order for fat loss to occur. If on one day you eat slightly more calories than you should have, it's not going to automatically turn you into potato chip, or that's a wrong analogy, a couch potato, or just a fat person basically, right? The same, similarly, right? Let's say you're overweight right now. Similarly, if you had on your 30-day calendar, you had 29 days of just eating crap, junk food, not being physically active, and you had one specific day where you had a really good day of eating, where you ate a salad, high protein, all this good stuff, it's not going to magically give you a six-pack, right? So again, keep the long-term view always in the back of your mind, and hopefully this can help you stay more diligent with everything and ultimately be more mindful with things, right? So yeah, those are some of the things that I personally like to do to help me stay on track while still eating my favorite foods, right? Including the sushi, sometimes if it's pizza, which is also honestly, sushi, pizza are my top two favorite foods as well. So that is everything that I have for you. Before I let you go, a nice little added bonus for you guys. If you have a hard time knowing how many calories, let's say a specific tuna roll or a specific sushi roll has, I want you guys to take a screenshot of this, because I've given you exactly my nutrition guide on sushi rolls. And again, these are not going to be 100% accurate, but this will give you a rough estimate of how many calories each specific sushi roll has, ranging from lowest calorie to highest calorie. So like I said, most of the boring rolls, right? The California roll, tuna roll, salmon roll, avocado rolls, those are typically lower in calories because they only have the seaweed, the rice, and the fish or the avocado, right? But then when it comes to the more specialty rolls, right, especially if it have the crunch, the tempura, the spicy mayo on top, sometimes even the Philadelphia roll have the cream cheese in it, which I'm personally not a big fan of, kind of grosses me out. But yeah, more of the specialty rolls, typically speaking, the ones that have more stuff on top of them tend to be more calorically dense. So be mindful of this, take a screenshot of this, but that is why I also like just sticking to more of the basic rolls, right? And I love the tuna roll, for example, lower in fat, moderate in carb, pretty high in protein as well, which is awesome. But then the shrimp tempura roll, higher in fat, as you guys can tell, higher in carbs, and a bit lower in protein too. So you can still eat whatever roll you want, just keep this sheet in the back of your mind. And then also these give you calories for the specific roll. So per roll, it ranges from about 50 to 100 calories as well. So be sure to take another screenshot of this. And with that said, I'm going to let you guys go. If you guys do have any specific questions regarding sushi, I'm not a big sushi expert, but regarding eating out, please let me know. Drop them in the comments down below. Hopefully you can be successful next time you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. And I'll see y'all soon. Peace.